Pitt-Ernie is where you find us as the Canada Games rolls on in Red Deer, Alberta. Team Nova Scotia taking on Team Ontario. As we welcome you inside the TSN studios, I'm Kayla Gray. Well, Nova Scotia looking to remain undefeated in the tournament in this one, but they're taking on a tough team in Team Ontario. We'll get to that matchup in just a few moments. But let's get you caught up on what happened earlier today as alpine skiing wrapped up badminton, women's hockey, and gymnastics. Let's get you some squash highlights, though, as we head to the Gary W. Harris Canada Games Centre men's team competition pool. New Brunswick taking on Nova Scotia for this one. Team New Brunswick ends up with a win as 3-1 is your final. Still in Pool B, Team Alberta taking on Team Newfoundland. Alberta dominating in this one. 4-0 final here. Now to Pool A, Team Manitoba taking on Team Prince Edward Island. Manitoba managing to get the win here. 4-0 final. And finally, also in Pool A, Team Quebec taking on Team Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan struggled in this one. They were unable to win a single match as Quebec takes it 4-0. And on Friday, we've got more squash for you. Singles final. That's 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Pacific on TSN 2. Well, Nova Scotia's curling team, a perfect 4-0 heading into tonight. On Sunday, they celebrated their win over Saskatchewan with the classic.
Touching me, touching you. Sweet Caroline, ba ba ba. I've never seen so good, so good, so good, so good. I'm inclined, ba ba ba, to believe it never was.
Well, the girls are looking to keep the good times rolling. Coming up next as they take on Team Ontario. That you can see on TSN 5 to get us all set up. Let's head down to Dustin Nielsen, Paula, and Dave Nedwin.
It's a beautiful facility for curling here in Red Deer. And Heather, let's start with the overall big picture of this event and how big it is for these young kids.
What an opportunity to play on in front of these large crowds. Day one, sold out to capacity, a lineup at the door. The noises are crazy. The fans are excited. What an opportunity for them to showcase what they came here and prepared for.
It's an absolutely phenomenal facility, and we're going to get a good look today here at Nova Scotia and Ontario. Dave, how do you see this breaking down between two unbeaten teams?
Well, both of these teams came here expecting to make it to the playoffs and compete for gold. They both trained for this all year and last year leading into it. Both teams so far have had a lot of score. They've really put points on the board, and when you look at them from lead through skip, they're solid. Like, these are two contenders. I think we're in for a good heavyweight match here today with lots of rocks in play.
These same two provinces met in the final in 2015 in Prince George, and that was Ontario coming out on top.
The Red Deer 2019 Canada Winter Games are presented by Nova Chemicals. Everyone agrees plastics do not agree with our oceans, rivers, or anywhere in the environment. Please be responsible while enjoying the games. By Finning Canada, proud partner of the Canada Winter Games and our athletes. By Driving Force, vehicle rentals, sales, and leasing, proud to be the fleet provider for Canada's Winter Games. By ATCO, proud sponsor and official energy provider of the 2019 Canada Winter Games. And by the Government of Canada, proud supporter of the 2019 Canada Winter Games.
Speaking of curling, coverage of curling on TSN continues this Friday with a Tim Hortons Brier live from Brandon, Manitoba, as the country's top men's curling teams battle under one roof in pursuit of the most famous trophy. And curling coverage starts with a wildcard game at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on TSN 1 and 4. But back to the Canada Games 2015 finals rematch between Nova Scotia and Ontario. Let's head down to Dustin Nielsen.
Welcome to Red Deer, everyone. The Pitt-Ernie Centre is where we are set up for Draw 6 of both the men's and the women's curling event. We will have the focus here on Ontario, Nova Scotia in the women's event. And thank you very much for joining us. Dustin Nielsen alongside Heather and Dave Nedwin. And I'm really excited for this. How about you guys?
Absolutely.
This is going to be a great matchup between two good teams that are high in the standings. I'm quite excited to hear the crowd.
Yeah, and you know what? There's a good crowd here. We have Ontario, we have Nova Scotia, and we were talking about before we went live to air here how excited, you guys talked to the teams before, how excited these girls are to be on TV tonight.
Well, they are. I mean, they're excited to be at the event in general. They've all gone and taken in a little bit of the atmosphere, cheering on their fellow province teammates and the sports they're doing. Now they get to play in a very loud building with a lot of fans right beside them and on TSN. I mean, you talk to them and their eyes were lighting up, right? They said they were announcing it at school and tweeting it out and everything else they could do.
Heather, is that easy to now put out of your mind as they're ready to throw the first rock here?
Well, thankfully they've had an opportunity to throw some practice stones because their hearts are racing and their hands are trembling, but they got a good feel of the ice.
16-year-old Kate Fitzgerald will lead things off here for Nova Scotia. A little bit of work to get it there, but where they wanted it.
Yeah, aggressive first call. So a lot of times what we'll see at this age is putting in right into the rings on the first stone, allowing the other team to make that takeout, sort of just getting a feel for the ice. But these two teams, I mean, the games that I've seen, they're high scoring, they're very aggressive. So they threw up a center guard and said, let's get at this.
Lauren Radula, 16 years old, out of Carson, Ontario. First stone here for Ontario.
Just T-line. Just T-line. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. We're sticking. Clean, clean.
And the ice has been holding up extremely well for all the players here. The featured game is on sheet 11. And yes, I say 11. There are 12 sheets of curling ice here at the Paternia Center. But for this event, they've got featuring 10 sheets. And the ice crew has done substantial work to make the great performance ice for everyone here.
You guys have been in a number of events all across the country. You seem really amazed with what they've got going on here at the Paternia Center.
Well, the venue looks fantastic. Look at the logoing, look at all the decaling. It allows the crowds to come in nice and close to the athletes. This is what you play for. This is what you get excited for.
Fitzgerald, second shot. It's a little bit of a roll inside.
Yeah, Ontario wasn't quite as willing to be as aggressive. The center guard was there that they could have chosen to go around, but they went away from that into the rings knowing that Nova Scotia would have an open takeout. So their thought process was if they went around it and never went heavy, it then gives Nova Scotia an advantage to draw around themselves. So they said, we're going to go to the wings, we're going to keep it fairly simple this end, and take the play away from the guard.
Radula with her second stone. Puts it just at the edge of the forefoot there.
Great chance at a hit and roll now for Nova Scotia.
Stay close.
Tuck it right in behind the guard.
Yeah, and what's key is when they make that roll, they're going to stay in front of the tee line, meaning Ontario won't be able to draw down to it.
Little bit of a roll. But it does stay above the tee line, Heather, right? So
they're just both exchanging rocks, and I'm doing some timing here for hog to hogs. They're throwing what we would probably say is a control weight, easy hit weight, and trying to utilize the sweepers.
Piper Crozier, just 15 years old. Sister is the skip here of this Ontario rink.
Hard, Lauren. Go, Lauren. Hard, Lauren. Hard, 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 hard. Good throw.
And she will knock it out. And the only one that remains right now, the guard.
Well, small mistake. It gives Nova Scotia a chance to use that guard now and come in behind it. And you can see they're taking a lot of ice. That broom is middle of the 12-foot that they're aiming at. So they're getting over 5 feet of curl to get behind that guard. So it's fantastic ice.
All you have room.
How long does it take to get used to the ice? I mean, they've been here. This is the 6th draw. They're going to try to curl this one in behind that guard.
So I got a roughly 15 seconds hog to hog, and you can see the girls dragged it to full 12 at the top. It's about halfway buried. And now she's elected. She's going to run the guard in and trying to remove some of the play up front.
Second rock from Piper Crozier. Crozier, as Heather mentioned, going after that guard.
Come back. Straight peel. It's a good throw. Okay, that works.
Peeled it away.
7-8.
Opens things up here.
Yeah.
Light's okay.
So just missed running it back there, Dave?
Yeah, they were hoping to hit it a little bit
Yeah.
thicker, but, you know, opening it up is really the key. What they don't want to do is get in too much trouble where their skip is having to throw against 3 or 4 yellow rocks. So by opening up, Nova Scotia comes into the house again, and you know, it's going to allow Ontario to make some more takeouts.
18-year-old Taylor Stevens out of Chester, Nova Scotia.
Okay, just let it. Looks like it's coming down though.
It's got to come down a lot.
Taylor attends St. Mary's University and is taking commerce. And we jokingly say she's the old girl on the team. Brings her wisdom to the front end, and as this team has been together for a couple years and has done very well in Nova Scotia.
Jamie Smith, the third here for Ontario. Her sister also played in this event. Was a third as well on a winning team for Ontario in 2015.
So she had the opportunity to be a fan in the stands, and now she gets that opportunity to play. Absolutely fantastic feeling for her as she
Great
makes
shots.
this run back double. Beauty, nice first shot.
It's that confidence due for her here early
9-5.
in today's event.
Getting that first rock
Yeah.
thrown and making a good shot like that, I mean, yeah, it really just kind of gets you right into the game right away. But, you know, again, that ice was so nice. They were able to let it curl right up where they wanted, control it with the brooms.
Maybe down. Hard cast. Right up cast. Hard right up.
It's like a Keep going. It's good, Tay.
Stevens will run that one back and out and rolls the 12-foot there.
Sorry, it's good.
If you're Ontario right now, what are you hoping to come away with here, Dave?
Well, blanked in. They're going to exchange hits now and hopefully get the chance to hit and roll out on Crozier's last shot and retain hammer playing the second end. A little wide here, though.
Hard to stick.
Trying to get it to curl.
Hard, Lauren.
We'll get the job done. Good job to keep that one on track.
Okay, good sweep.
Now we'll get our first look here
It's good try. So slide out there.
at Callie Moore.
It's all good. It was a good throw. You got it. Yeah. So.
So the Moore team has been is ranked quite well, is doing quite well in Nova Scotia. They, although they're in the U18 event here, they are ranked second in the U21 on the Nova Scotia tour. So they are doing substantially well back home. And what's exciting for them, once they're done this event, they head back home to Truro to play in the U18 provincials.
What was the time?
83.
Clean
It
it.
looks like it's coming down.
The top four. All you guys.
It's there.
Upper curling. Yeah, pass.
Did we hear her saying there it's over curling?
Well, it's interesting. They took a little bit less ice. We were noticing earlier in the end that Nova Scotia took middle of 12-foot. That shot, they took edge of 8-foot, and I was curious if it was going to run a little bit straighter or not, but no, it curled tons. So we can see that you have to be out in that 12-foot if you want to stay on the center line. It's got that much curl, which is great. I mean, that's what the players want. They want to be able to bury around the guards, force the opposition to make great shots.
And the ice is going to provide that today.
Absolutely. The only thing that we've seen from watching over the last couple days is that as the game goes on, that middle slide path where the players slide down starts to slow down a little bit, and the rocks do grab up, so the sweepers have to be aware of that later in the game, so we'll keep our eye on that.
Other side, yep. Whoa, whoa.
Bella Crozier.
Yep. Yours, Lauren. Go. Yep.
The takeout there, leaving the blue stone in the 8-foot.
In the earlier game today, we saw a game-winning shot timed from hog to hog at 13.7 seconds, and it stayed in the 8-foot for the winning shot. Now, if you threw 13.7 seconds at the beginning of the game, like right now, it would be right to the bumper.
Really?
It's that much difference.
So it changes that much just as we work our way through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Callie Moore with the final stone here for Nova Scotia.
Starting to move on them.
And that one will hang on at the back. Setting things up for Bella Crozier here with the hammer in the first.
You're just a little high. 8-5, watch that guard.
Pretty happy with their first end here?
Yeah, absolutely. This is what they played for. They threw that first one in the rings, even though there was a guard, hoping that Nova Scotia would make a mistake somewhere along the way and set up this chance for their skip to blank the end. So exactly as they planned.
Keep it simple, calm your nerves, get a blank, and then try and score with the hammer in 2.
Crozier is going to catch it and will blank the end. And Nova Scotia, Ontario will continue right here on TSN. A look at Ontario here at the Paderni Center in Red Deer. Dustin Nielsen, Heather and Dave Nedowin with you, and a nice start for Ontario.
It was, yeah, a great first end. That was right to the strategy. They had that planned out, you know, depending on what the first Nova Scotia stone did, but the whole goal to blank the end, so mission accomplished.
What about for Nova Scotia? We saw how they started that first end. What do you expect here in the second end, Heather?
I think they're going to kind of continue with the same and be a little bit aggressive. She's already indicated she'd like a guard. You know, if they're looking to play conservative, they would have, you know, called for the rock to be in the house, but she's calling what we call a zone 3, which is a tight guard. And they're trying to get it as close as they can to the center line.
But I think we'll see a change of strategy. There we go. Ontario's now calling the corner guard. So they've got their nerves out. They played the first end clean, and now they're okay to throw the guard up and say we're going to go after it.
So we are playing the 5 rock rule here, which allows a little more rocks in play. And we're seeing that, you know, there's experimentation on what, to, you know, when and what to do with the junior level. But, you know, they're learning a lot from us, Scotties and Briars. And
All you. Sorry, Bella. It's okay.
Coming in a little hot here.
I don't know about that. 15-2.
Well, just stopped in time. Now, the other option is she could have gone around that center guard as well.
Could have already tucked one in behind them.
Right. I mean, now you're giving Nova Scotia the chance to do it. So if you'd taken that rock, maybe just a few inches more weight and put it right behind the yellow guard, you're controlling the front of the house. So nothing wrong with that, but it certainly gives Nova Scotia a chance to get in there now.
And that's what they're going to try to do here. Kate Fitzgerald watching on. So try to curl in behind this center guard.
We're back 8.
Looked like I heard they were saying they were hoping for top 4.
Yeah, this is really the, you know, the part that most young curlers it takes a lot of time to work on in terms of thinking it's okay if you're top 12 foot or even top 8 foot. You don't need to be in the 4 foot even. Controlling the house means controlling the top of the ring.
So you want to be, if you want to miss, you want to miss light.
Exactly. Okay. So, but the nerves are going. It's still early in the game. You know, you've got a chance to get around, and you just throw that little bit of extra instead of giving it to your sweepers. That rock in top 8 foot or top 12 foot, now you're controlling the whole hands.
So that opens things up a little bit here for Ontario.
And Lauren has been having a stellar competition so far. She, her first 4 games have been really. She's been playing very consistently. And so Bella's going to try and utilize this. And look, as you can see, she's controlling that top of the house, getting close there to the tee line.
Excellent shot right there, just on the edge of the button from Lauren Rajala. Got to be pleased with herself there.
Weight's good. Top 4. All you.
Now Cassidy Curry.
Top 4. On room right now.
For Nova Scotia.
Coming in nice.
Trying to bring one in. Dave looking to put it right on top of it, or?
Yeah, just sitting and freezing right on top of it. I mean, they could even be just a few inches short, and that's fine. Line looks great. It's curling right in. And really nice weights. Perfect. Narrowing down the house, making it smaller for Ontario to get a second one in for another point. So Nova Scotia's in the mode of how do we force them to a single point.
That's Ontario thinking here now, Heather.
You can see the curl here. I mean, they're 8 inches on the other side of the center line as that's coming in, and it's curling all the way right to nose or even across that a little bit. So just a ton of finish.
Piper Crozier, 16-year-old for Ontario. Her first stone of the second end.
I'm loving hearing the communication between the front end and the back end, where the sweepers are switching and they're moving. You know, this is a strong front end, and they've been really making some shots.
Did they want to bring that one down a little bit lower, right on top of the yellow, or are they okay with it sitting there at the top of the 12?
No, they wanted to come right to it.
Okay.
I mean, even if they bumped it just slightly to change the angle and sit on top of the yellow one, so a little bit light.
Second stone here for Curry.
Just for weight, just top 8, guys. Gotta go. Keep push it over.
Getting a call to try to bring that one home to the top 8s.
Right here.
Have to work on this one a little bit.
Get it farther than that. Okay, you're good. That's good pass. Good
And it'll settle in next to that blue stone at the top. Getting a little crowded in there now, Heather. What do you think the strategy becomes now?
Well, if you're in Ontario and you're wanting to,
I don't see how that helps. We'd always do this.
I think it's starting to move things around a little bit, but she's elected to come around her guard that's top 12, and with the finish, you can get in there and be halfway buried or 3/4 buried.
Dave, there's definitely a path there, isn't there?
Well, there is. I mean, you're kind of doing one of two things right now. One is protecting against giving Nova Scotia a shot to get rid of your stone, while also setting it up to maybe score 2.
We're deep.
Take away the option for Nova Scotia to
9, 10.
Heavy.
knock that one off the.
Yeah, I got a 13-6 on this. This should be back house.
Stops in the 8s.
Not sure. I'm saving that.
I like where we are right now.
How much of this do you have?
It's actually not that bad for Ontario. If Nova Scotia ever did make some sort of run back, if she's looking at right now, playing the yellow onto the yellow into the blue. The blue now jams on that back blue one. It's kind of a catcher for Ontario, so it actually isn't that bad of a spot.
So even though it was a little bit of a miss, they can still actually make something from that.
Exactly.
I think you can. I think it's risky.
You talk about the communication. It is nice to see here. Obviously, just the second end, but a big shot coming up here for Nova Scotia.
And that's the one thing it's nice to see. Juniors used to stand, somebody would stand in the hack and yell down what they think, and then it would waste a lot of time. And with thinking time, you don't have a ton of time. You have about 4 minutes per end. So I love it when I see the third and the skip get down to the house, start communicating on shots, and then you can see the front end. They're, you know, what are our options, and if they feel they need to come down and share that information, they will. But as you can see, they're looking at their different options.
Well, I think Taylor had the right call. If they draw around and basically follow what Ontario did down with a little bit less weight, sit in the top 4 foot in front of that blue one, just corner freeze it a bit. So she came down with the right idea.
It's right here.
So sit on the top of the 4 foot is what you're saying.
We can throw 9-5 if you want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is okay, but the problem is you might open it up and make it easier for Ontario to get 2 points.
So they've elected to go with what they're calling a 9-5, which everyone has different terms to what that means. That might be control, easy hit.
Is this getting rid of all 3 of their blues?
No.
Okay.
Just basically putting us to shot, I think.
Okay.
Just 9-5.
Good crowd here at the Paderni Center. As they'll watch
9-5-9.
this shot be delivered here
Close.
from Taylor Stevens.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Close.
No. Close. Pass.
Good shots.
Great looking outcome for that. Well thrown.
It's exactly what they called. But the problem is it still gives Ontario a pretty easy chance to remove that yellow one and sit 2. So even though it was a made shot, it's really left Ontario in a pretty good chance still.
So that comes back to the call, and the decision to try to execute it that way could open them up for 2 here for Ontario.
Exactly. The conversation is always, what is the goal of the end? And the goal of this end is to force a single point for Ontario, which they had the force set up, and not that they won't force it still, but they've given Ontario a chance to score 2 here for sure.
Yeah, line.
Jamie Smith, the third for Ontario.
Line. Line's line, all you. All you. Lauren. Lauren. Hard, Lauren. Hard anything, Lauren. Okay, whoa.
And that one's going to tuck in and sit right on the blue stone that was at the back of the 4. Now, actually taps that blue back a little bit.
And where its position is, on the back side of the button, which allows Nova Scotia, if they were to come down and weld it right on it, it'll be very challenging for Ontario to get that out.
Because it leaves a little bit of room, and then they can sit right on top.
9-5 out here?
Yeah.
Taylor Stevens for Nova Scotia.
T-line! All you! All you, you got room! No! Not Kate! Not Kate! Yes! Hard line, Kate!
Waist fine.
Good work to get it in there.
Very nice.
And that is shot stone as Ontario will get ready here for another rock from Jamie Smith.
Same weight! Okay, hair more! Okay.
Basically the exact same thing.
Okay.
Is that what we're thinking? Heather, you're nodding your head, you're not sure?
Well, based on the angles, I mean, it'd be desirable for her to get to even cross the face a little bit so that she could roll a little bit behind and try and bring that back stuff into play to get a possible deuce. But with the angles are working out.
Oh, it's close. Yep, line. Hard line. Yep.
Pretty close.
Hard line. Hard.
Go, Pepper, go.
Hard. Whoa.
Great shot.
She get a little bit of a roll here.
Turned out spectacular. As I was saying, she wanted to cross the face a little bit and tuck in a little bit behind that yellow shot or yellow rock at the top 4 foot.
You could even just tap those.
Let's take another look at that shot from Taylor Stevens.
And this was all a weight shot. If she's even 3 or 4 feet heavy on this, she doesn't get the angle she needs. She's a hair light. She's wrecking on that yellow one. So it was just beautiful weight.
Jamie Smith with that shot. Putting Ontario in a pretty good spot. Nova Scotia now.
Back 8. Yeah.
Callie Moore. Or is she going to try to settle this one
95, 90. 95 for back 8.
Well, I think they're just playing a freeze. I mean, they actually, Heather, they have a relatively easy double takeout to sit too. I'm not sure that they saw it, I guess.
And I'm just thinking my same thing there too. I wasn't too sure of the call, but
it's just off nose, and they get rid of both blues and sit 3 yellow.
Or more?
Yeah. Or more.
Possibly
right.
more, yeah, possibly more.
Hard. Yeah. Okay, wait only. Back 8.
Where's weight? Yeah.
Yes.
Hard.
Hard. Okay, wait only.
Hard. Go,
And the crowd is yelling like crazy from the sides. This is so much fun for the sweepers because literally next door on the sheet is a fan yelling, "Go hard."
Absolutely. This reminds me of the TSN Skins game
Do you think we
when
go,
you're playing and
like,
the
I think
crowd
this
is
is
lined up
plan
on
B,
both
like,
sides right
right there.
beside you, and you can hear everything they're saying. It's just a fantastic
if I'm not here, we
atmosphere.
go there.
And right on the home end is Nova Scotia, and Ontario is more center and on towards the away. So you've got Nova Scotia yelling like crazy in your ear. How fun is that?
Yeah.
Trying to bring that one in there. It ends up sitting
this
up
is really bad.
top 8.
Well, it's not great.
Well, I think Nova Scotia
this
got a
is
little
fine.
bit into the mind frame now of what I was saying of what's our goal this
Plan B
end,
here.
and the goal was to force one.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
thinking, okay, as long as we come up short, we're probably forcing a single point for Ontario, which is great. Except they had that double to sit 3, but that's okay. I mean, they wanted to force one, and they made a good shot.
Basically on the double, hit the blue that's at the top of the button, knock out the other blue. and then
Exactly.
Sitting 2,
Sweeper
maybe
T
3,
line, we're going to
possibly
the back
4 in that
Possibly.
situation if
Yeah.
you actually execute it nicely.
You know what? They made a good shot. They played it pretty well, and it's tough for Ontario right now.
Okay, what kind of weight you throwing?
T-line, exactly. We have to be T-line.
Okay.
We got to be frozen on that back yellow. If not, plan B is on the top yellow.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you heard the plan.
Tough shot.
There's a lot of rocks in play in this second end.
We called that.
Call you. Maybe a little lighter. Yep, line. 6. Line. 7. Hard line. 7. Hard
Bella
line.
Crozier
5.
for Ontario here.
Whoa.
Over curling.
Line.
They go to plan B now and try to bring it in on top yellow.
Exactly.
That is where it will sit.
And Jamie, as you could see, listening to her voice, he wasn't too sure what is plan B. What is because depending on the angles, you wanted to set it up for
Plan
another
B.
option, so she wasn't too sure.
I don't really know what you have for 2. Like, there's this top. Yeah.
Well, Heather, you mentioned there are a lot of rocks in play here.
Or we could play it off the
All but
yellow.
one.
Do you think we try the same court? You skinny that one? But she's guarding her. Oh, okay.
Callie Moore with her final shot here in the second end. Dave, what's she going to try to do here?
Well, she's going to guard that hole or that port that Ontario just tried to draw through.
Okay.
It's not an easy shot for them to come through anyways, but she'll guard that.
It's good, 2. Okay.
Maybe only leaving that wide in off for 2 off that one way out in the 12 foot for
2-3.
Ontario.
All you guys.
Line's good.
It might be top 12. Well, just
No, it's
clean it.
2-3.
Just clean it.
It's good. Just clean.
Still going to overcurl.
I think it's going to overcurl as well, coming to the center line.
So that opens up an opportunity here for Ontario to slide in.
It does. Tough shot, but it's there for 2.
You're just about to have to just get by that corner blue guard that's top of the 12,
Just overcurled a little.
because the way it's been
Yeah, a little
twisting
bit.
in there at the end, finish has been strong.
Well, for club curlers, you know, if we play in our Thursday night men's league, we would look at this situation and we'd say, okay, well, you need to be fairly tight to those center guards, you know, in order to get around that.
Yeah.
But in this case, they actually need to be tight to the outside blue one to give this shot a chance. So it's a little bit different mindset because of the amount of curl.
So you got to stay out there and then cut inside it.
And then just let it kind of swoop in at the end.
It's a possibility, not an easy shot here, though,
Yours is the only one that really cut there. Mine didn't cut.
for Bella Crozier. Let's see if she can get it done.
Stay with it. Lauren, is it enough weight for the tap? No, never mind. We're not doing the tap.
It's usually quicker out there, too.
You're all over the front. No.
So she had a 13-4,
Okay, that's fine. One blue.
and it just rode a little bit longer out there on that on the 4-foot line.
One for Ontario. So mission accomplished possibly there for Nova Scotia. Third end coming up here on TSN. Ontario with a 1-0 lead on Nova Scotia in a battle of unbeatens here in the women's draw at the Canada Games inside the Paderni Centre. And we were just talking, Dave and Heather, that was a really fun second end. You think we're going to see that many stones in play throughout this match?
I do believe both teams enjoy to be aggressive.
I like that.
They've been like when we look at the results, they're both undefeated teams. They're riding out some confidence, and two skips are having a first half of this competition have been playing extremely well.
I think we're 3-4.
Rajala will lead things off here for Ontario.
You're gonna cross center, yep. Sweep, 2, 1, yep. For 2. Okay, whoa. We're in 2. Overcurling, whoa. I'm not doing anything.
Heard Crozier saying a little bit of an over curl there.
Yeah, just across center. Ideally, you want that right on the center line. So they just need to, Ontario in particular, needs to just adjust the broom a little bit and take a bit more ice. Nova Scotia seems to have picked up on that a little bit earlier.
Fitzgerald for Nova Scotia.
Where? Really heavy.
It's coming down a bit, though.
Stay close for line.
Okay.
Where?
Don't want to go.
Heard her say as she let that rock go, might be a little heavy.
Okay.
It's good, Kate.
What is it? Pass. What did you have on it?
That will
I
sit
have
back.
a 68.
8 foot. Heather, how does that change things maybe here in the early going of the third end?
Yeah, no, Bella's gonna try and capitalize with the guard that Lauren threw up in the first rock, and so she was gonna try and control the top half of the house, and this is where it's really key as a front end player is control the control zone, what I like to call it, and as a coach I'm always saying control the control zone, and when you hear David and I say that's the top half of the house.
8. We're like almost just a foot above it. Foot above it. Go, go, go. Oh, right. Okay, yep.
And this turned out perfectly, right? She's just top 4 foot, 3/4 buried. It makes it more challenging for your opposition lead. She's got to throw lighter weights just to tap that back, which should angle onto the Yellowstone.
Fitzgerald now, her second shot for Nova Scotia here in the third.
Watch line. Pull right now.
So a little less weight, and they took
Got room right now.
Gotta go.
a little bit less ice too. So this is still going to curl lots on them.
Okay, just for
Now, Kate has a history already in the Canada Winter Games. Her Aunt Karen won the silver in 1983.
Fitzgerald legacy lives on
It's like top 8.
in the Nice.
What?
Dave, what do you think of that shot?
Perfect. That was a great shot. It's really important that they stayed on top of that and didn't bounce off of it. Also, a really great weight shot.
Don't worry about getting them off of it too, like off this 4 foot too early.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like that much less.
16 years old here. The youngest sister of the Crozier sisters on the team.
Yeah, we've got a family affair with Dad coaching. And I'm sure David understands coaching girls is always an interesting battle as you have young teenagers and girls. There's no crying and curling, is there, David?
Hey, whoa. Okay, it's good.
There's a look at the Ontario coach, Sean Crozier. Both his daughters out here representing the province.
Do you like the hit at all?
How young are curlers starting
Do you think
nowadays?
we could hit and roll?
They got 5, 6 years old. Are they getting out there having some fun, or is it a little bit older than that? Or?
Yeah, there's what they call the Little Rocks programs, and you can have some curling clubs will even have the smaller size, smaller weighted rocks, but you know, most programs you're 8, 9 years of age when you start playing once or twice a week, and then that's called our U12 program in Canada. Now it's our U, and then we go to our U15. Our athletes here today are U18s, and then oh, and we just had a pick.
Grab some debris on the ice, so actually if they can still get the top one, no.
It's okay,
Bad luck.
Cass.
And you can see now, you know, Ontario's going to go by and try and sweep that scratch up. And as a player, you literally have to say, that happens, let it go, and move on. But yeah, that was quite a scratch there deep into the ice.
I just caught something.
And here's the replay. You can see it's coming down and right over that spot there. It grabs, the handle straightens. Yeah, see that scratch all the way down there.
Good look at that scratch right through the logoing there of the "This is our moment" logo.
So that's a pebble. That's a piece of dirt that came from outside of the ice area, and it's a challenge. I mean, the ice makers are dealing with that constantly in terms of people coming from outside, the salted streets, the gravel, come into the club.
It's almost impossible to keep it under wraps.
Well, players are walking from the change room through that same spot down onto the ice. Really, they should be putting their shoes on the ice.
However, they did come with little booties. So like in the hospital where they have those little boot covers, that all the athletes are trained. They too they want the perfect playing conditions as well. So everyone's putting the little booties on and running into the locker rooms whenever required. So you know, it's part of your routine. At the Scotties, we did the same thing. You know, everyone's, as the volunteers, they're vacuuming, they're cleaning, and they're doing everything. And as athletes, we have to take part of that process too and put on the little booties.
And the one thing I will say is we've seen very few picked rocks over the first 6 draws. The ice crew, the volunteers, they've been doing just a tremendous job of keeping it clean. So it's thanks to their hard work that we don't see more of that.
How much can that impact the rest of the way here?
Well, they'll clean it up now. If they make a good double, they can still get out of this end.
Oh, look at this.
There you go.
What a shot.
Very nice.
And that's what I say. How do you respond after something goes bad? You respond with your next rock, and well done.
A little adversity there, not an issue.
Not only getting rid of both the guards, but taking that blue rock that was in the top 4 foot and moving it back. So as Heather was talking about the control zone, there's the blue rock gone now out of the control zone. So
basically all 3 rocks that may have caused an issue for you there.
All moved.
Yeah.
And that's what's so great to see at this level of play, our female girls being able to throw the higher heavy weights to eliminate a possible potential problem. She just turned it into possibly good for her now.
Jamie Smith,
Close.
the Ontario third.
Yep. Hard. Hard.
Ontario trying to stay in the rings. If they ever roll out, does give a chance for Nova Scotia to hit the wide ones and even pull that back one into play.
Managed to hang on there. Did the Smith stone.
So although we see a bunch of blue stones, as Nova Scotia having the hammer, you don't need to necessarily panic because the majority of them are behind the tee line. So she's taking the opportunity right now to try to hit and roll in front of those others and draw the play back to the other side of the sheet.
Gotta go on this. Might get the double if they hold it.
She's gotta hold it.
Really hard, Kate. Hard.
Get the double.
Calling for the double.
Oh, so close.
Almost had it. We'll nestle in there beside the blue stone in the 8 foot.
Did you say what happened?
Well, we had a pretty good view of that from about halfway down. It really started moving. So even with the takeouts, we're seeing a lot of curl on them. They need to, you know, just adjust to that a little bit with the ice again.
Smith now, they're knocks the yellow out. And that blue one. Almost hanging on to the back there. Heather, as you mentioned, they're not in a bad spot here. Everything's at the back of the house right now.
Yeah, no, and this is, again, here's an opportunity. She could take the time to draw down to this stone here. She's elected to hit and roll over in front of the other blue stone. But as we've noticed, like, the hit and roll is a very challenging shot. And so sometimes, you know, keep it simple and elect shots that you're going to have probabilities of making better.
Stevens runs the blue back. Now sits shot stone here as we head to the skips.
Sorry.
Yeah, a bit of a concession by Nova Scotia that they're going to just play for their single point. Yeah. If they really want to get 2 points, they would have played the draw and tried to freeze. But they'll hit and be satisfied with taking a single this end and being tied playing through.
Snow.
9.
Want to flop over?
No, just nose.
Nose, okay.
Bella Crozier out of Sudbury, Ontario. You mentioned for a lot of these girls, they'll go back and compete in U18 provincials.
Yeah, and this team has quite a drive to get up to their provincials. Their provincials will be taking place in Fort Francis, which is a 15-hour drive for them. Unbelievable.
It's a nice little jaunt in Northern Ontario.
Well, so that's interesting you say that. This team actually does represent Northern Ontario when they go to the U18 championships. But here at the Canada Winter Games, the entire provinces plays under one.
Not bringing in North Ontario and Ontario for the Canada Games. There's a look at the Nova Scotia coach, Rob Moore.
Yeah.
And again, dad, happy dad, proud dad of the skip.
This team plays out of the Mayflower Curling Club, which is the home of the famous Colleen Jones. So Colleen was at a number of world championships the same times that our team was with the Furby team and got to know them very well. So they say they play against them in their Super League. So
really?
Yeah, they play against them. I said, well, is it still part of the team? They go, no, it's the whole team.
Really? The whole Jones team is still together?
Yep, every one of them.
Any roll pass?
Now, it's a little different for Nova Scotia. They're, as athletes, they're branched out across the province, and so they're not all out of one region, and some of them are at least an hour and a half away, and so practicing is a little bit more challenging for the girls. They do come out of the Mayflower, but for practicing for them, it's a little more coordinating for them.
How many times a week would they be able to practice when you have to coordinate travel like that, would you think?
Over by those
Well, when you got a university student in the mix, I'm sure she's working around her schedules, but, this team has been together for a couple of years. They've had great success. I would say they're probably practicing 2 to 3 times a week, one league game.
How early would you lock in to a team? You mentioned they've been playing together for quite a while. Do you kind of get a sense, 16, 17, 18, that we can make a decent run here, or do you wait?
I think it's a lot like most sports where it really comes down to the chemistry. I mean, you might think that you've got the best shot makers on the team and the chemistry just doesn't quite click. So it's about finding that right chemistry. So you might find that really early, or you might find that as lives change and someone goes to school or some other priorities come into play that, you need to make some changes. But, it really just comes down to enjoying spending a lot of time with your teammates, because you do. You spend a lot of time with them.
The hammer here for Nova Scotia, Callie Moore.
Fairly tight ice, Heather, so I'm guessing she's throwing a bit of weight at this. We know down the middle there's a lot of curl.
9-5. Room down. Clean. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. Off. Pass. 3.
Boy, that was a lot of weight.
Yeah, I had her at a 9-5.
Can't jump those.
And it was ran a little bit on her, and the sweeper wasn't able to draw it back.
Roll out. It's okay.
That's going to open things up for Ontario as Nova Scotia with a miss. The hammer, they trail 4-0. Welcome back to the Pederny Center Dustin Nielsen, Dave, and Heather Netowin. And you guys picked up your souvenirs yet?
We have. We have got lots of swag.
Well, I got to admit, today we're commentators, and we're obviously, you know, calling the game. But after this, we'll put back on our Alberta colors and cheer on our daughter.
This one's going to slide
So
all the way through.
I was really impressed during the break there. You know, Nova Scotia, that is a bit of a heartbreaker, right? And to give up 3, but very impressed with the front end, and they're standing at the hog line and said, you know what, we can do this, girls. If they can get, you know, back on whatever game they must have watched line scores for Ontario, so can we. And I just love that positive attitude, and this is the type of things that you need. There's lots of game left.
Dave, you mentioned with the amount of rocks that we've seen in play so far, a lot can happen.
Yeah, for sure. And with the 5 rock free guard zone, you get 2 guards up there. I mean, in theory, in a textbook end, you're guaranteed 2 points if you play it out properly. So really, they're in the mode of let's get 2, force 1, get 2, and we're tie game again, right?
So at this point, they don't need to be ultra aggressive right now. Like,
no.
Still let it come to you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only the 4th end.
Basically, Heather, just execute your shots, right?
Yeah, as simple as that can be. So, so we do play 8 ends here at this championship, and so we're going into the 4th. We're halfway through. It is important for Nova Scotia to get onto the board. You know, 2 would be perfect. 3 would be obviously ideal.
Hard. Okay, Jamie.
Ontario setting up a guard there. See if Nova Scotia looks to
I think so too.
come around it.
If she makes it perfect,
Yeah, a bit of a mistake there. I mean, now Nova Scotia has 2 guards to play with. They're going to come around this one, try and get into that control zone, and really put some pressure onto Ontario.
This is where Kate has an opportunity to capitalize on this guard and put her team into a good position.
Kate Fitzgerald watching on.
We're pretty good for weight. Maybe a little up.
They're trying to tuck it in a little bit more in a perfect world, I guess.
Yeah, in a perfect world, they could have got that buried. And as much as we talk about being in front of the tee line, in this situation when you're trying to generate points, it actually didn't matter that much if they went deeper because Ontario was not drawing on top of it. They were peeling that guard no matter what. So, yeah, just another foot of weight, and they would have been pretty good.
Hard. Hard. Really hard, Lauren.
Piper Crozier.
Hold it. Don't let it cross center.
As Dave mentioned.
Hard. Okay,
Good sweeping.
Good sweep, Lauren.
Lauren took a breath there. She put her head down from the hog line and had a good sweep going on. I love the communication between the 2 of them. They've been kind of giggling.
This is one of the first things that I noticed when I arrived here a couple days ago is that when I look at all these kids, the boys and the girls, I mean, they're athletes out here. I mean, they're big and strong and powerful. They throw hard and they're also fit. It's a different game than I played.
I was going to say, it's not what you guys were.
I think Marcel and Scott were fine-tuned machines.
Sure, I feel like at that point the game started to change.
Yeah.
But when we were this age, it was based on skill. The fitness training and all the other things you do outside of this, you get so many support mechanisms for these teams from nutritionists and sports psychologists and trainers. None of that was available 15, 20 years ago. But like I said, these kids are all just athletes.
And they're getting the additional training leading into the games, which I just think is exceptional, from nutrition to media training to sports psychology. This is where I think we're providing these athletes that we foresee them being in the future, our Scotties and Brier champions and such. We're getting them like elite early, and I think it's a great life skill that these athletes are acquiring too.
Okay.
Peels that guard away. Right now, Nova Scotia, top of the 4-foot here.
Now the danger for them, which is that where it rolled to. So it looks kind of harmless because it's outside of the rings, but it's actually behind the other guard, which means Nova Scotia, in theory, could duck one around there. If they peel the guard, it's still guarded. They could draw another one around it. So it's actually dangerous where it rolled to for Ontario. It's a good opportunity for Nova Scotia.
Water room.
Wait, it's all there. You gotta go. You gotta go.
You're gonna have to finish, Kate, if you're not through.
All right, Kate. Go back. Go back. Go back.
Take a look, guys.
I think we gotta
The
go
deeper
this
they take
way.
it, the more it'll curl.
All right, Kate.
Okay, go, 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 go.
So a little deep, but it did curl in beneath the guards there.
Not bad. Yeah, pretty good shot.
I think we're looking like half rock, maybe
We were talking
two
a lot
rock.
about families and obviously the dads being coaches here. Is that common for most of these teams, or are we at a point now where you'll have coaches for some of these provincial programs that aren't family members?
Close.
I think most provincial programs have a provincial coach to help with the teams, but each team will have their own individual coach. A lot of times it's a parent. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. Somewhere along the line, there is a parent involvement. But you know, if we talk about Team Alberta, neither boys or girls have a family member that is coaching. So it's evolving and such. But as a coordinator of a junior program, you know, I really encourage parents. You know, if your kid enjoys curling, get involved. You know, take the instruction courses that Curling Canada offers. It's really beneficial, even if you don't even plan not to be a part of coaching, is now you're knowledgeable and you're part of the package. You're the ones that with them on the drive home,
Maybe to the yellow.
right? And that's some of the greatest discussions can happen in the vehicle.
Hey, go!
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Nice tag.
That's good, Taylor.
And that one will bump the other yellow back.
Can you get to that?
Now, if they'd ever sat top 8 foot on that rock, the angle would have been lined up right onto the Ontario
Whatever you
blue
like.
one. So,
How much
you know,
space?
just 2 or 3 feet shorter just makes such a world of difference in that
Let
case.
that curl even that much more.
Yeah, just even
5.
same line but shorter. Now if they hit half a rock, it goes on the blue one. But good shot. I mean, it's just a couple feet heavy. Ontario's got to make a good good tap here.
Now, I think only Jamie can see about a half a rock, if that. So she's going to have to throw a little bit lighter takeout weight here.
Started it.
Hard, 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 hard. Gotta go. Hard. Whoa, hard, whoa, whoa.
Great shot.
Makes the double.
Double takeout there from Jamie Smith. And that clears things out for Nova Scotia, who trails by 4.
Jamie's having an exceptional game.
Really good sweeping again. They held that all the way down right until when they got off to let it curl to make that double. But still good chance for Nova Scotia. If they can draw one around there, they can still generate their 2
Come right
points
back
pretty
in
easy.
behind the
Yeah,
guards.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Way better, top 8. Close. Cass. Hard, Cassie.
Taylor Stevens of Nova Scotia.
Hardy got it. That's hard. That's hard, 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 hard. Hardy got it hard.
Oh,
Oh, just gets by.
oh, gets by both. A little tap on the blue, and it settles in the 8 foot.
Nova Scotia fans enjoyed that.
That's good, Taylor. I like that.
They had to work for this one. Can't get much closer than that.
Oh, I like her body language. Bend it and see if you twist around the rock. It works.
No, that little bit tight line, they had to sweep it all the way. You can see if they'd been able to get off of it, it would have stopped just in front of that blue one.
Instead of tapping it and
instead of
knocking it over,
tapping
yeah.
yeah. So Ontario can still move it,
You got it.
but it's difficult. And if they ever make a mistake, Nova Scotia's got a chance for 3 then.
Bella Crozier, the Ontario skip, getting ready for her first of 2 here in the 4th.
Whoa. Yes. Whoa. Four. Yes. Yep. 10-4. Whoa. Whoa. 10-5. Piper. No. Piper. Go, Piper. Hard, Piper. Hard.
Go, 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 go,
Hard,
go,
hard.
go, go, go.
Go, 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 go. Okay.
I believe they are yellow is sitting 1.
I think so.
It does look like it. Looks like it's definitely inside the blue that it's behind. And I think it's inside the blue on the other side of the rings.
That was a lot more than board. Yeah, sorry. It's okay.
So close to being perfect, but I think they left yellow sitting 1.
They were
Trying
calling,
to get it to curl.
Yeah, they were calling on Piper to trying to get it to curl there, and it just nudged it.
So great chance for Nova Scotia, like I was saying. If there's ever a mistake, they draw around again, and now there's a chance for 3.
Yeah, I think it's us. Even if we're not, I think that way.
Taylor Stevens says she thinks it's them.
I think you can get yourself
This would be a huge response here from Nova Scotia if they could pull off 3.
Oh, huge. Yeah.
I don't know what I do.
Yeah, definitely be happy with your 2, but like David's saying, the way the angles and the rocks are set up there for the guards, they have an opportunity if they can keep it on the top half of the house, bury one in there,
97.
they bring the 3 into play.
And Dave, this all comes back, you mentioned it a few shots ago, to that blue guard that kind of just settled in behind the yellow high guard there, and how it changed everything. Even though they kind of knocked it away, they still left it sitting there. And it's causing an issue right now for Ontario.
Yeah, for sure. Ontario couldn't get into peeling mode because there was another guard there. So it's, you know, it definitely gave an opportunity for Nova Scotia to use those to generate the points. The key is being top of the house right now. Don't give Ontario a chance to freeze to it.
Mine's going to be tight. Hard line. Hard line. Hard line. Really got to go. Where are
First here for Callie Moore.
These girls are working hard.
I got to get this one to go.
Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
I have it as a 15-7.
Short.
It's not there.
Comes up short.
Good try, Cal.
Now Ontario getting a look. Heather, what are you expecting Ontario to do here?
Well, Bella was kind of looking at the outside blue there in the middle of the 12 and possibly running that blue back onto the shot rock stone yellow. But I think she's elected just to follow Nova Scotia down and come around and try to do what she was attempting, was again full 8, halfway buried around and be shot stone.
Okay, cool.
Give it to us.
That last one was like 16.
Yeah,
so
I got that too.
Okay, just T-line.
Bella Crozier. Final shot for her in the 4th. Ontario with a 4-0 lead.
Line's fine. All you. Lots line.
We're all there.
All you. All you. Piper.
Now we're third.
What about on the hot side?
13-5.
That one all the way through. Opens up. Shot at 2 here for Nova Scotia.
I would rather the draw, but it's your throw in, so you can throw the hit.
Well, I can throw the draw.
What? Well, it's up to you. I think
I
we
gotta
have to
get
play
draw
this
weight
because if we're not 100% sure we're shot over there,
It should be
we could only
good,
get
pretty good
one.
here. I think you need that.
With a draw. Oh. Oh gosh.
Okay, so you could hear the back, the front end.
They were confused.
Yeah, they weren't. Are we shot or not? And if it is close enough, then you're right. They should be hitting.
Are
But
we definitely shot?
I don't know. I like to hit, but she likes to draw. She says that she thinks it's 100% us.
Well, if you
It's
put
just
your
if we're
trust
not,
in your
we
third's
might
eyes
only
like
get
that,
one here.
then draw is the shot for
I'm
sure.
trusting her, thinking
It
it's
is close.
Us, but I don't.
Okay, 95.
I would lean towards them being shot right now, I think.
I think so, but a little concerning when your skip comes down and says, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to know.
Yeah, it'd be a shame to settle for one here when you're down 4 and all you had to do was take out the blue for 2.
Hard, you got it.
Oh,
they want to
really
make
gotta
sure
work
they
this.
got to get their second stone here.
This gonna have enough.
No, short.
It's not there.
So maybe 1.
And as the third, you will take a look, and if it's close, I always said, if it's when they're spread across the house like that and you're not sure, just grab the measuring stick. Wait, save some time.
We're not sure yet. We're measuring.
A measure here, but seems to me, and you guys obviously have a much better sense of this than I do, but opportunity missed here for Nova Scotia.
Absolutely, yeah. They, you know, when you have a draw for 2, you're down 4. You need to you definitely need to make those shots. But I mean, hey, we all miss them, and all you can do is regroup after N4 and say we had a great end. We had a chance at 2 here, maybe 3.
That's what we were talking.
Let's
3
try and do that
possibly,
again,
yeah.
right? So they just need to get back out there and sort of put pressure on Ontario like they did this end.
Reflecting back, I'm sure Callie would like to have clarity on where that position was, and I think she was in between shots. Was I going to throw the hit or the draw? And I think that's the one thing on juniors. If you aren't sure, get out of the hack, come back, and let's reset.
It'll be 1 for Nova Scotia. They are on the board, but Ontario with a 4-1 lead as we get set for the 5th end here from the Canada Games in Red Deer at the Paderni Center on TSN.
The Red Deer 2019 Canada Winter Games are presented by Nova Chemicals. Plastic is a valuable resource, not to be discarded. Put it to better use. Kindly recycle while enjoying the games. By MNP, proud supporter of the 2019 Canada Winter Games. By Navigator, when you can't afford to lose. By the City of Red Deer, it's in the spirit of sport. It's here. It's Red Deer. By the Look Company, building sport and event environments that are always engaging. The proud branding partner of the 2019 Canada Games.
Let's get you to some curling highlights from earlier today. Draw 5, Quebec taking on Northwest Territories. Both teams looking for their first win in the tournament. But it's Quebec who comes out on top in this one, scoring 5 in the 4th end, en route to a 9-1 victory in 6 ends. On to the women's side, draw 5, Quebec and Northwest Territories again. Northwest Territories climbed to within 3 after 6 ends, but Quebec good wide open with a 4 in the 7th end, sealing a victory 9-2 the final in this one as Quebec improves to 2-2. And when we return, 5th end between Ontario and Nova Scotia. Get it over. Hard!
Welcome back to the Paderni Center in Red Deer, everyone. 2019 Canada Games. Dustin Nielsen with Dave and Heather Medowin, and Ontario with a 4-1 lead on Nova Scotia. And that Nova Scotia stone coming up a little short.
Yeah, we talked in break a little bit about how early in the game we discussed how it slows down as the game goes on. And the first couple ends, the misses were a little bit heavy. They were sliding a little bit deep. Last end, we were seeing all the misses come up a little bit short, and we started out the 5th end with that as well.
Hard, girls. I think we're like a 3.
So at break time, you see not only the athletes take a break and refuel themselves with the healthy snacks and liquids and such, but you see the fans in the stands do the same thing. But this is what's really exciting about this year's event is that this is the first time both boys and girls are competing on the same week, and so typically they would be alternating, but because Red Deer has this many sheets and this options, we've got them united, and this is what's been so much fun for the athletes, but also the parents, because the boys and girls are playing at the same time. So Nova Scotia boys and Ontario boys played on this sheet earlier today to get the help us out with the angles for TV prep and such. But typically they play beside each other, and they would have been on sheet 10. And that's what's so much fun about this event.
Is this the only event where that happens? Everything else is kind of separated with U18 women here and U18 boys there?
Well, this is the first time curling has done the united, with the boys and girls being under the same week.
Here's a look at all of the other sheets in play here at the Paderni Center. 12 sheets here, 10 being used for this event. And a nice close setup for all of the fans as well.
And so as parents in the stands, we unite with the boys and the girls, and it becomes a larger team. And you'll hear that from the athletes. That's what they love about this event, is once, they're curling and do their thing. But we had hockey. Nova Scotia Hockey was here this morning cheering on, their athletes. And that's what's the fun about for the event for the athletes. They get to go to different venues. They go back to the village and they eat with the other athletes and find out how everyone's day is going. Super fun.
And Dave, you mentioned earlier for a lot of the curlers, unlike some of these other events, there's not a lot of time because with 2 draws a day, with the exception of one day, you spend most of your time here, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And, you know, part of the Canada Winter Games experience is cheering on your fellow teammates, but it is tough for curling. I mean, I think you were calling speed skating and different events like that where they'll do their 2 skates and then they can enjoy the week. And I mean, for these curlers, they're playing twice a day, morning and night, and between games, they're going and sleeping and you know, eating and resting.
Do you like the top
so they will, you know, they'll try to, but there's not a lot of time for them.
Ontario here with a 4-1 lead. We are in the 5th end.
Cassidy just made an exceptional hit and roll in behind. And as I was mentioning, hit and rolls are the hardest shot for us to do as curlers. And she got buried about halfway behind that blue stone in the top 12, which was a great shot.
Yeah, nice look from our overhead camera there. Has it buried quite a bit. There's Piper now, just 15 years old.
Now this Ontario team has done exceptionally well in Ontario in the U18s. They're ranked #1, but they're also doing really well on the U21 tour, and they're ranked 5th. So this young team is putting together an exceptional year.
Maybe she tried to come around behind that one, right? And just
She was trying to tap, but I actually like the weight call by over curling a little bit. They just split those 2, but actually didn't take either of theirs out of the rings, but opened up the back one. So it was a good call, actually. I liked it.
Now Curry for Nova Scotia.
Kate, no, Kate. It's gotta be Kate.
Nice curl.
Hard over.
Hard.
There it goes.
Take. Hard roll, take. Whoa.
Was listening to you.
Great shot.
That one will sit just above the 4-foot.
Make sure we stick the shooter
You're
here.
Ontario here, Heather, with a 4-1 lead. 5th end now. You mentioned we only go 8 ends here at this event. You feeling pretty confident right now? Or, I mean, we've seen a lot of things happen where Nova Scotia could have picked up 2 or 3 here or there.
Yeah, and again, you want to control your nerves, keep the shot calls simple, and keep a controlled house. So you can see they don't have many guards in play, and if she gets her 1 here, fine. But yeah, they've got an opportunity to get their 2.
Great shot.
Clears out both yellows. An excellent shot right there by Piper Crozier.
Wonder if she say, way to be sister. I don't know if that would work out there.
Ontario here with the hammer, leading 4-1. Pretty good spot right now.
Playing the double.
No.
Looking for the double, hit it on the nose and stuck.
Yeah, the one thing that Nova Scotia doesn't want to do is give up 2 more points. I mean, they would love to force a single and have the hammer again playing 6. Giving up 2 more points is going to be a real uphill battle for them for the last 3 ends.
Do you think it's going to come up here?
I think it'll come up.
Looking at the clocks, both teams are at 14 minutes, which is plenty of time to play the rest of the game. There's no need to speed up and hurry or anything like that.
Jamie Smith curling very well today.
Hard. Wait. Yeah, that's good. Good throw.
We'll run this thing all the way back. Dave, what are you doing here to avoid 2 if you're Nova Scotia at this point?
Yeah, they're going to try the double again. Just hit that one on the nose and send it basically straight back.
9 up. Whoa.
Stevens looked for the double last time, wasn't able to get it.
Lean, yeah.
Can she get it with a second opportunity? Just misses the double on that one.
I could not have missed that by any less.
Oh, sometimes that's so hard when you're throwing and you actually believe you've got it, and you go, are you kidding me? I had it in my head.
Excellent look at her reaction there as well.
Yeah, exactly the end that Ontario wanted. Very little rocks in play, no pressure on them. You know your skip is going to have a shot for 1, or in this case, very possibly 2 points.
Now it's interesting, you see the coaches behind. The coaches are positioned on the ice during this event, and which typically as coaches we're behind the glass and don't have access to our athletes. So this is a really nice opportunity to be up close with your athletes.
Now, would there be a specific reason that they do that here, or is it just logistics, do you think?
No, it's a part of the Canada Winter Games feature that, and at the U18 Nationals as well with Curling Canada, we will have our coaches on ice, which it provides that interaction. That's one thing I think the downfall of curling is not having that opportunity to just say, you know, move your hand up a little higher on your broom, move this way, you're doing good. That positive feedback enforcement throughout a game. We're closed typically behind a glass. So I really like having this opportunity, especially these young athletes, that right there to provide feedback by their coaches.
So interesting situation. Nova Scotia, as much as we said we don't want to give up 2, or they don't want to give up 2, the double is there, but there's actually a chance to draw around this now. That rock is so high in the house, they can very easily get half around that and use the back blue one as a catcher if Ontario goes after it. So good chance here to force 1 or even steal.
First here for Callie Moore.
Kate, go, hard.
And to bring it around in behind that top blue.
That'd be Callie. You know what, as a skip, when you miss your last shot on your last draw going there at the 4th end, to come back in the 5th end and make this, that feels really good, and that should boost her confidence.
Wonderful shot.
Exactly what they needed at that time for Nova Scotia. Here's another look.
Saw that the sweepers switched there at the hog line too, so that they could help bury this stone for her and reach the top 4 foot. Well executed shot by the team.
Still a chance at 2. The Ontario's got a just off nose hit run back for 2, but you know, if you're Nova Scotia, you're hoping for a little mistake and possibly steal a point.
Bello with her first stone here in the 5th.
Really close. Oh, what a good shot.
Nice response.
Excellent shot from Crozier.
I'm really impressed by this front end of Piper and Lauren. You know, really impressed with them, the way they hold the line. At one point, I thought they might have missed it, and they actually kind of seemed to back it up a little bit. It was exceptional.
Yeah, their sweepers have done a great job.
Oh, that's there.
I don't mind that.
What do you suggest here? What are they going to look to do here?
Well, I mean, they probably have a couple options. They could come in, they're looking at coming in with the out turn and just tapping a little bit and trying to sit right in front of it. Really difficult shot. I mean, anything she has now is going to be difficult. I don't think you can see enough of it for the double, Heather.
That's all.
I think it misses.
Yeah.
I think if we don't hit it, we could give up a bunch, but if we do, they're probably still getting one.
Up
At
to
least
you.
one.
10.
They've elected to call a timeout. And you're right. They're needing a little bit of support from the coach because, again, they are down on the scoreboard. Is it time, you know, is this the time you gamble a little more and tuck around that one there and hope that you get a miss by them? But again, we're talking, a 4 foot is getting smaller and smaller to wrap around there.
Well, they're not in the 4 foot. They actually could play the wide in-turn draw around everything and actually come around that blue one to the back 4 foot potentially to sit one.
Try to find the back 4 foot buried in behind the blue.
It's possible. I don't know that they have a whole lot else to keep them to one.
How high is that? It's just like top four.
You heard the one comment that if we don't get this, we could give up a lot. which would be trouble at this point.
Top one into the other two, right? Send it that way, you can get all three. But
I don't like that very much.
Coach Moore suggesting the triple. It's an option.
Well, he was told.
I don't like that very much.
We don't like that.
I mean, I think.
I don't know. Throw anything? I don't mind the draw.
I don't want to. I don't think that is safe at all. I think they're getting free if we do.
Well, I don't like the run back and I don't like the double. So we can play the tap or we can play. Because the double's not there. I mean, you can try to throw the double. If you throw 10, try to get it.
Yeah, if you pick one out, then they're going to get two. It's either that or the draw.
You just threw the perfect weight for the draw.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think
Agreed.
the draw is giving her three. Like, I'm thinking of what she'll have to do
I
next.
think she's more likely to miss a triple run back than, or a double run back than.
You gotta go away.
I think whatever you want to do.
So I think the discussion here is they were trying to find a shot that probably had higher probability of making, and what they were right about is every shot is low probability. So in my mind, you play the one that's going to give you the best result then. So they're all hard. Which one gives you the best result? The double probably actually isn't there. So the shot that's going to give you the best result is a draw if you make it perfect. Very, very difficult, but you may as well try it.
Like the 1 inch tap.
What do you think, Heather?
Well, I really liked the way Taylor was talking through with her skip. Is Callie, you just threw the draw. You did it exceptional. You know that. And let's do the same thing. But it's a matter of getting into your skip's head. What does your skip want to do? And when Callie was mentioning, I don't know, that's when she's searching for, I need some help here. Help me decide what is the best option, because all options right now are difficult.
I think the same ice will be good too. Yeah.
So I think they've elected to come down and just tap it and sit in front of it and be second shot.
And that's the importance of being clear on exactly what the shot is. Is it a dead freeze, or are you trying to move it 8 inches?
Okay.
So the same weight.
They're not even in the floor right now, I don't think.
Okay.
We talked about it. We saw it earlier. There was a discussion a couple of ends ago where they're like, I don't know if this is what I want. It was when they were trying to draw, and they had the opportunity to run one back and score 2. They went for the draw and came up short, and not too sure where her head's at right now.
So they elect to go for this draw.
It's a little heavy.
Okay, where?
Line only. It's like back 12.
Close. Where?
Back 12. Back 8.
No, not close at all. Kate.
They're not close at
I don't
all.
want to go.
Don't, you're missing it.
Can we wrap it?
It's heavy.
It's too late. Okay. We'll wait. I'm thinking 9.
So with that a little bit of extra weight, we got the hitch and roll on the top one and left it open for Ontario for an open shot for 3.
It's okay.
I should keep the room down. It's not okay.
What were you going to do? She made a run back.
Tough to be that indecisive for a shot there, right? I mean, that was a long discussion about like what you said, Dave. There was no easy shot there. Every shot was a difficult shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the hack she said we're playing the freeze, so same weight. She just overthrew it a little bit, and really difficult shot, right? I mean, it's not something you're going to make every time.
Now an opportunity for Ontario to blow this thing wide open.
Clean. Yep.
Bella Crozier.
Clean. Yes, clean. Yep. Clean. Clean. It's good, Bella.
That looks good.
Yeah.
That'll knock the yellow out, run it back. 3 for Ontario. And the lead now 7-1.
3 blue.
Nova Scotia running out of time here against Ontario in a battle of unbeatens at the Canada Games in Red Deer. Welcome back to the Paderni Center, everyone. A look at a few of the volunteers here who are part of the curling event. And Heather, you mentioned you see a lot of familiar faces at curling clubs across Western Canada and here in Alberta right now.
The volunteers of this event are the heart and soul, and that's why it makes it such a memorable event. It takes an army, and there is a lot of volunteers for this event, and it's been exceptional. From the moment the athletes arrived, the athletes village has been nothing but outstanding for the athletes, and then you know, as you come welcome yourself into the curling club, you know, in 30 below weather, they're directing you in the parking lot and with, you know, big smiles and making sure we're comfortable here at the event. It's been a wonderful, wonderful job by the volunteers.
Really good, Lauren.
Thousands of volunteers making sure that these Canada games in Red Deer go off without
Small
a hitch.
bump's okay, but same weight's
Pretty good
great.
job so far.
Same weight.
Excellent job from Ontario so far here now with a 7-1 lead in the 6th.
Now, Nova Scotia needs to, I would say, dig deep, as I would say to my girls, and find your grit and your grind. And this is junior curling. Anything can happen. And it's, you know, it's about parking it and letting all that stuff go behind and just really trying to regroup and come back with, you know, 1 or 2 and get on the scoreboard. Because, again, this 5-rock rule allows teams that are down to come back.
Good.
That one bumps off the yellow, off the blue, bumps the back blue onto the button there. Dave, when Heather talks about digging deep for Nova Scotia here, I mean, you need to execute as perfectly as you can, but you'll need some help here along the way, right?
You do, for sure. You need some mistakes. But this is also where Nova Scotia needs to just kind of, you know, go all out, put up guards, hope for some misses. Really, throwing another guard right now probably would have been, as much as they make a great hit and roll here, Ontario's just peeling the guards, right? So probably another guard, get a few more set up, get some more rocks in play.
Dave, off the top of your head, can you think of a Nova Scotia team that needed to come from behind to win?
You can't stuff it, though.
No idea what you're talking about. That never happens. And I don't care how many times Brian Mudryk introduces me as the 2004 Brier Silver medalist on TSN. I did actually win a couple as well.
Yeah, you did all right.
We'll stick with that.
4 or 5?
Oh, muddy.
I just found it funny, though. Here's Bella calling the game, and she's calling for, you know, possibly a run back.
Yeah.
And it takes all of them. It was Jamie that went and said, we can't do that. That's the 5-rock rule. We're all still adjusting to this rule of when you can hit and not. And that's, I really like it when it's not just the responsibility of the skip to call the game, it's the full team. So it needs everybody to be paying attention to the ice.
We did have a bit of a laugh before the game. We were talking with Team Nova Scotia and their coach said, you know, I hate to tell you this, but we did have Mark Dacey come and give some motivational talk to the girls before the event, you know, about how he had a big comeback in the Brier final against you. I'm like, oh, that's really great. That sounds great. Awesome. Good story.
Anything is possible.
Did they talk about the next year? Because you won the next year.
We did.
Yeah.
No.
No mention of the one that you won after.
Whoa.
I'm quite all right with the record.
You got this, Piper?
It should come up here.
Yeah, it'll come up inside out.
So Red Deer has a history of producing great Canada Winter Game athletes. It's been quite exciting. Joel Peterman, which is, yes, Jocelyn Peterman, brother. He won the Canada Winter Games back in 2007, and his banner proudly hangs here in Red Deer alongside his sisters, who was the silver medalist in 2011. And then again in 2015, Canada Winter Games was represented by Alberta for the boys' Owen Orzen's team. So Red Deer has produced Canada Winter Games athletes for the last 3 cycles. Absolutely phenomenal. So very proud of Red Deer in the area for the athletes that they're producing as curlers.
Dave, did you say you played with Peterman?
No, I didn't. I played, but I did play with Colin Hodgson, who did play with Peterman. Yeah. I had 1 year with Colin. I held him back before he went on to be a great player with the Reed Carruthers team.
Wow.
What a great shot.
And that's what I think is really exciting about the Canada Winter Games is this is a stepping stone for many of these athletes to go on to bigger and better things.
I like that better. All day.
There's another look at that excellent shot, as Dave said. And that came a long way.
Yeah, all they can do is keep putting pressure on Ontario and hoping for a mistake. And if they keep making shots like that, you know, just make Ontario keep throwing.
So timeout has been called by Ontario.
Just because if we rip it, we have to
Let's talk about what they're going to be looking at here. Where's the concern here? What's the major issue that they're discussing?
She might guard it.
I think what the coach is going to tell them is look at the scoreboard, girls, and peel the guard.
Just peel that guard right out of there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's your danger rock.
On the R. A little bit deeper. Frozen's perfect.
What are the other options here? What else are they
If
thinking?
you get the R, that's good too.
Okay.
Leaves them a little tap back.
Well, they're looking at the freeze.
Rub on anything. No, I
Even if
agree.
you're wide and freeze under our own, it's not the end of the world either.
Okay.
You just have to be T-line, 4-foot area, and then break.
Okay,
You
cool.
got it, huh? Let's do it. Let's do it.
So it doesn't sound like they plan on taking that guard out.
No. A little surprising, I'll be honest. You know, when you're up, and really there's not a right shot all the time and a wrong shot all the time. There's a shot that gives you the best chance at winning the game based on the score and the end. So looking at the scoreboard right now, saying we're playing the 6th end, we're up 7-1. Giving up 2 is fine. Even giving up 3 is not the end of the world. But you don't want to breathe life back into Nova Scotia. Peeling the guard is what they're hoping you won't do. So you need to do it.
Now, Jamie Smith has been excellent today. This will be her first of 2 in the 6th. And what are they trying to do here?
They're playing a freeze, and you know, the way that Jamie's been playing, I mean, their coach is probably just saying, Jamie, just make it. And that's fine.
Yeah.
If she does, that's a fabulous shot.
A lot of hard work here from the Ontario front end.
And there's the risk with the draw.
Guards right now, no matter what color, are Nova Scotia friends.
Oh, timeout, Nova Scotia.
This is a huge opportunity here. This has opened up. With the hammer here for Nova Scotia, this has opened up the possibility for a big end.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, they were calling the right shot for sure. Callie was calling the draw around the guard there, top 8. And you got to leave yourself a chance to come at the end to tap that. But let's see what they're talking about here.
Well, what if you hit them and you roll it this way?
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. If you do that, then they still try to wrap, and then they're got backing and a guard.
Personally, I don't really like that because I don't think 3 gets us enough.
Well, okay, well, my problem is if you draw in there and you're buried, I don't know how you're ever going to get that blue.
I think we can overbury it so that we still have the same amount
Okay.
of it.
All right, I don't mind that because then you might get 4.
Yeah.
3 is good. 3, you can still win this game.
I think we're all or nothing in this end.
Could be. Yeah.
I
don't mind that if you guys are okay with that, but yeah, just make sure you can get at this.
Try to maybe try if you can.
Even if you're
try to get on
underburied,
top
then
of the one that we just threw.
Even if you're like half
Because
open,
it
you
cuts
might be able
really
to.
hard there.
Yeah.
Like if we're T-line on that side.
That's another thing, like what Kate just said, if you don't bury enough, you're wide open, you can always run
You
yours
can
on
always
that-
tap
on
ours
that.
into it.
Yeah, it's either wide open or fully buried.
Yeah.
You can't really be happy.
Just careful of keeping it straight the whole way down.
All right, guys, what are we thinking?
Well, I'll tell you, if you're down 7-1, you need to count on making your shots perfectly right now. And so the way the ice curls, they can draw around that blue guard that was just thrown, completely over curl, and still leave the back one wide open. And I totally understand what Coach Moore was saying. You don't want to kind of half guard and make it difficult, but you have to plan on making the shot. And if they can get top 8 foot buried around that guard, they have Ontario in a world of trouble. So great conversation.
That was great.
I loved what Callie had to say. It's all or nothing right now, and I totally agree.
Yeah.
T-line.
I think it's soft.
It's down.
Taylor Stevens, first of 2.
This moved really early on her. You can see the disappointment in Taylor.
Picked.
I believe it picked as well, yes. Seemed to, right of her hand, just seemed to sluggish and then started to go sideways.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know. She hit 406.
It didn't feel that soft.
It didn't look that
She would
soft
know if she
either.
threw it that bad, and that grabbed something out of her hand. Probably a hand print, a knee print, just something
That
on
can
the
make
ice.
that big of a difference.
Oh
eh?
yeah, absolutely. And it's really unfortunate because if they had made obviously made the shot they were planning to there, they could have got 4 right back in this game. But it's not over yet this end.
Yeah,
Well, you heard the coach say, Coach Moore say, 3 is still really good in this set.
Absolutely.
To the back one. Bumping?
Yeah.
The second here from Smith.
Hard, Piper, frozen.
Get it around. We're tapping it.
Yeah, I know. Frozen. We're gonna split it. No bump. Hard, 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 hard. Hard, you gotta roll it off, roll it off, roll it off. No, we can't roll off. Okay, that's okay.
So by drawing down to this back one has now allowed Nova Scotia to
What weight are you thinking?
fully expose this rock and get in control of this
You
house.
almost got a no, so I'm thinking up, so you have a farther roll.
Another look at it from Ontario. Now for Nova Scotia, they just need to make these shots.
Well, I'll tell you, they could actually play the same shot and ignore the second one, not play the double. Just come in with hack weight, roll behind, leave the blue one there, but leave all of yours buried. And one more mistake by Ontario, and you're getting your 4 again.
You're getting it in 4. So they still have one more shot at getting 4 if they.
It's, you know, it's kind of the 6 of one, half a dozen. You make the double and you're sitting 3, or you don't play the double. You leave that one there on purpose, but you get the roll behind.
Pass, be ready. 9-5. Whoa.
A lot of weight behind this.
She's feeling she's a little bit wide on this, and they're trying to get on it to get some curl.
Misses there and leaves 2 Ontario stones.
Yeah, probably a little.
Sitting here at the back of the 4.
I feel for Taylor. You know, there was an opportunity, and she knew that, and she was trying to really hard to help her skip out in that situation, but it seemed like she set it just a little bit, and that little bit extra weight, and it was running straighter. Timeout, I believe, was called from Ontario.
A lot of discussion here in this important 6th end.
I think all timeouts were utilized during this one end.
You don't like the draw? Just guard it. Pardon?
You don't want to
Dave, what do you do here?
Yeah.
You want it somewhere above the blue.
Okay.
Just put a guard up.
It literally just needs to like cross center.
Okay.
This?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to close the hole.
Just force him to 1 point.
Sure.
You guys got this.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, line's more important.
Yeah.
Do you like the same ice?
Okay, because we want to be
Again, there was clarity on the shot, and so line's more important. They're calling for the guard, and I like again as a team decision, they make a decision and get some clarity. The sweepers know exactly what needs to, that the intention of the call is, and they got clarity.
It's again an opportunity here for Nova Scotia to put together a big end, possibly missed.
Give it to us.
Well, coach was worried if they came into the rings and didn't bury it, they would leave a nose hit triple to give up 3. So he's saying, don't throw in the rings, throw it up front.
All right.
Yeah. Like last. Okay. 2-3.
Yeah, you got it.
Bella Crozier and her Ontario team in control right now.
Piper's raw.
Raw there.
Okay, line's okay. Piper, get ready. Piper, go. Yeah, Piper, go. Hard. 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 As soon as it crosses center, stop. Yep, go, Piper. Hard. Hard. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Good.
So you can see both the skip, both Bella and Jamie the third, they have duct tape on the front of their gloves, and I was just noticing with Jamie when she's signaling to her teammates, when it's black, it's difficult to see. So they put some colored duct tape on their gloves to help signal, and so it makes it easier for the players to, the front end to see it.
This one might not even go out. I think you have to play the draw.
Everybody has a variety of colors. You can see Bella's selected that, but you can see it, and which is exactly the intention. So
definitely stands out.
I don't think running a blue is all or nothing though, because like I don't know. If you want to play the run, we can. I just
4 minutes for each. 4:30 for each end.
Callie Moore for Team Nova Scotia.
don't come
come to the blue. Don't want to touch the blue.
95.
And try to draw one in here.
What? 95.
Yeah, draw top
Maybe
button.
90.
I think they only had a couple shots. One is, and the easiest one is draw top button, try and get your deuce and see what happens.
All you guys.
Down.
Line's great.
Top 4.
Lots of room right now. Lots of room. Lots
Gotta
of
go.
room. It's gotta be Kate. It's gotta be Kate.
Kate in. Top
Where
4.
are you?
Not to the blue.
Where?
Top 4.
Kate, go. Yes,
Kate,
you
They got to go on it. It's starting to hit the slide path zone. It's going to come down on them.
Definitely slowed down there.
Yeah, they were concerned about the line, and they were really trying to anticipate it to come around a little bit, but as they waited, and it really started to come down what we call the slide path, and that's that area literally, you know, between the 4-foot lines, or the 4-foot, has the higher tendency of slides being across. Now, majority of these players are right-handed, so that slide path tends to be on the left side of center, and then, you know, you have to be aware, what are my oppositions? What, you know, what the heck do they come out of, and where does the leg drag? And so sweepers have to be on top of that.
Final stone in the 6th here for Bella Crozier.
Okay, just a 2-3. 2, 3. Pipers.
Line's okay.
3.
Piper, be ready. Okay, Piper, be ready.
Where are we?
We're gonna be okay.
3. We look like Tion. Where are
It's
we?
on Crow. Go. Yep.
Want to go like around?
You want to wrap a piece? Yeah, wrap a piece. Yep. Go. Yep. Whoa, whoa. Kate.
Well, a bit of a mistake, but it turned out pretty good. They were trying to put it up front and guard off that yellow run back. But I think it's, you know, it turned out pretty good.
It seemed like just before it got to the house, they were like, okay, we're going to take it back behind.
Yeah.
And it worked out okay.
Yeah, it did.
But I mean, 3's good.
Trying to see if there's options for like triple for 4 or something.
Can you run it back for a triple?
I mean,
you need to be perfect.
Possibly that middle rock goes if you throw it hard enough, but I mean, you need an absolute cannon to have enough weight for that. So I'm going to say, you know, unlikely.
She has an opportunity to score her 1 here. If the 2 overlapping blues can spin up, there's possibility for 2 or 3, but she does have to throw a missile.
Callie Moore, the skip for Nova Scotia.
Yep. Woo, woo, woo.
Off.
Kate.
No. That's okay, Cal.
It's okay, Callie.
Runs it back, leaves 1 in there for Ontario. And they are going to shake hands here, 8-1 through 6. A series of missed shots by Nova Scotia kind of wasted some opportunity for them.
Yeah, definitely missed opportunities. I agree. I think that they had Ontario in a position to score some extra points and make that scoreboard a lot closer than it was. But yeah, I agree. Definitely a game of some missed opportunities for Nova Scotia, and great shot making by Ontario. You can't take that away from them.
Absolutely. I thought Ontario had a strong game from front end to the back end, and
Ontario in a battle of unbeatens, a convincing victory over Nova Scotia in Red Deer.
The Red Deer 2019 Canada Winter Games are presented by Melcor, building the communities where people live, work, shop, and play since 1923. By Columbia, we love keeping you warm. By Santec, architects, engineers, scientists, and project managers who design with community in mind. By the Canadian Olympic Foundation, a proud national partner of the Canada Games, supporting our athletes today builds the champions of tomorrow. And by Teck, Canada's largest diversified resource company and the exclusive metal supplier for the Canada Games.
Engraved on a Nation continues with the 3rd installment of the acclaimed 6-part original series as the impossible swim chronicles marathon swimmer Maya Farrell's attempt to cross Lake Ontario and what it takes to overcome physical and mental obstacles. The impossible swim tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific across the TSN network. And tomorrow, when Canada's elite battle it out on the Badminton court, coverage begins at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific on TSN 3, and that's where you will find us for day 11. Well, we just saw it there. We hope you enjoyed the action as Ontario remains unbeaten. Again, tomorrow, badminton for day 11. We'll see you then.